I don't know if I'm going to talk about trans stuff in this one or not. I don't know. I guess maybe this what I'll be talking about in this video is friends. Uh, Friends, relationships in general. This is not an advice video. This is not about how to make friends or anything like that. This is me talking about my experience. I sat down to make this video because I just felt like that just kind of emotional frustration. The word that comes to mind right now is frustration. I'm sitting here in this back office. It's a Tuesday night. It's around 5 minutes till 10, so it's 9:55 in the evening. Now I could just go out and just drive around and look for things to do. Uh, uh, there are places I know that I could go if I wanted to just sit like at a bar. I know there are places that I could go, but I really don't want to just go sit at a bar. That could be better than nothing, and I may end up doing that anyways after I get done with this. But the frustration was just the kind of this stupid fly. Stupid fly. It's a dumb fly. Nope, I didn't get it. It's the kind of frustration with my environment. God damn it, that thing landed right on my fucking eyebrow. What the eyebrow? What is an eyebrow? This little housefly is just he's liking my spot here. He wants to antagonize me and irritate me. That's how I see things. That's what the fly's purpose is. He's here to irritate me. As if I wasn't irritated enough already with the town that I'm living in. Salisbury. I just made a video about confronting Salisbury. And here I am stuck in a room. I wouldn't say stuck in a room. I'm not stuck here, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like I can just drive around. Like I said, I could drive around maybe and find a stranger at a gas station to talk to. I may have to start doing stuff like that. I may have to start going to just like going around. You know, maybe you just going for walks and just talking to total strangers. So that's where I was coming from when I sat down to make this video, is just this kind of what I had on my mind. One was relationships, but the other part that I had on my mind was just society in general. Now I was joking in a previous video about building a temple to Aphrodite in a small town. The joke was kind of that that's kind of how I saw myself in this town, that I was like this just kind of alien, kind of just oddball, kind of stuck here. Not even counting the trans stuff. Like, it was just like, that is my assumption, that if I were to build like a temple to Aphrodite here, people would freak out. That people would be like, that's not cool. That's not, you're like some kind of weird pagan. We don't want like pagan stuff here, because, especially from a tranny, because then they'll be like, and that's, you're worshiping Satan and this kind of stuff. And, that is my assumption. That's my prejudice against the city. I was thinking that what might be fun to do tonight is just to go find some people that I could sit down and talk to, and maybe in a room like this, not in a bar, but in a, kind of an enclosed environment, and not like sit around and like watch TV, but actually just sit around and talk. maybe have a few beers and just talk about things. So, but what I thought on the way back is that's what I'll just do right now. You know, I'll just this is my evening talk session with my friends. Can I make friends with you through a video? Is that possible? You want to be friends already? Are you like, you're hot. I want to be friends with you. Am I hot? I feel hot. I feel hot as a girl. I was good looking as a guy, but I never felt hot. Does that make sense? So this is my sit-down chat with a Mick Ultra that somebody else bought. Is that what that is, Mick Ultra? I may have to go replace these. Because what is this? This is like 5 I've had in 2 days. 7 I've had in 2 days. Out of 12. Well, I don't want to get hung up on those details. So yeah, I was saying that I was going to start from the beginning and just talk about relationships. Now, there is one thing before I start about my own life. I did say this would not be advice, but I do want to. There was something I read. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe not that long, maybe like 8. But it was a psychological journal or something, or article, maybe like psychologytoday.com or something like that. There was a claim stated in that article, and it was something to the effect of like 90+% of mental illnesses are the result of a person's inability to find satisfying relationships. Now, that might refer to a certain kind of mental illness, like say personality disorders or what are they called? Affective disorders. I'm not sure what that term is. Affective disorders, I believe, are like depression, bipolar disorders, or bipolar. I don't think it's called bipolar anymore. But stuff like that. So yeah, I'm saying that because that sounds a little bit off to me, to say that 90+% of mental illnesses are the result of a person's inability to find satisfying relationships. Just for one, I mean, you have things like PTSD, right? Is PTSD, I mean, is that considered a mental illness? PTSD is not the result of a person's inability to find satisfying relationships. Borderline personality disorder, which is what I've been tentatively diagnosed with, that I would say is probably the result of an inability to find satisfying relationships. And I would add a little footnote to that from my perspective, it's not so much a satisfying relationship. I can't even find a healthy relationship. I have not even been able to find a relationship where I just feel good. I guess that might, maybe that's what they mean by satisfying, is that it feels good. You feel like you're getting what you want from the relationship. And that sort of thing. But it's like I had a therapist through the VA, and I had to request a new therapist, and I ended up just giving up. Because just with my relationship with the VA, I just felt like these people they're not interested in helping. They're just not the kind of people I can rely on. The last therapist that I had, that I was actually that we'd actually had sessions together with, uh, she was fighting with me over the phone. We had a session over the phone, and she was fighting with me about where I should work, where I should live, and this sort of thing. She was telling me she didn't like my ideas, and she thought I should quit the job with my father, go get a job at Starbucks, or a place like Starbucks, is what she said. She said, go get a job at a place like Starbucks and move into an apartment because I was living here at that time. I'm not living here now. I actually live in my bus still, but the bus does not have a regular source of electricity, so I come into my dad's shop to use his electricity. Uh, and so that was it. That was enough for me. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have a therapist who's going to fight with me over about where my, things that I've been thinking about for years. From the time that I was in Atlanta to the time until I moved here, I have been thinking almost nonstop about what am I going to do as far as living, making a living, like where am I going to live, how am I going to make money, these sorts of things. This has been an ongoing, evolving plan that I've been working on, and she was just threw all my plans out the window and it was like, just go get a job at a place like Starbucks and get an apartment. And I'm just like, oh my god, you know, like this is not, to me, this is not a healthy relationship. This is like you have this idea that you're the doctor and I have no idea what I'm doing, and it's just like I don't want to deal with that. So there may be the question of how much of having a healthy relationship, you know, is my responsibility in that case. Now, in this case, I was putting that responsibility on her, saying, "You're the doctor. You fucked up. I don't want to deal with you. Fuck you. Goodbye." Uh, Now, maybe I should have been the one to say, "Hey, I want a healthy relationship here. I don't want to fight." Uh, and that sort of thing. But then I kind of feel like I would be the one who is being the therapist in that situation, and or being the more mature one, I guess. But that is something that I don't know. Uh, I'm not going to go back to that just to have that. I'll put it that way. Like I just wasn't getting enough from that relationship to make it worthwhile. It was certainly something that didn't hurt. Aside from the last session that we had when we were fighting about where I should work and that sort of thing, that was really the only one where I felt like this was an absolute waste of a session. This was an absolute waste of time, and didn't do me any good at all. But on that note, I had a therapist in Atlanta before I moved back to Salisbury who gave me her number. She gave me her personal telephone number so that I could call her and talk to her. If I don't know what. I don't know. There was no. That was a, you might call it a sticky situation for me, because this was a woman who I told while I was her patient in Atlanta when I used to visit her face to face that I had strong feelings for her and that I pretty much wanted to be with her. So I told her this face to face in her office when I used to go there for our sessions, and then I leave. I moved back to Salisbury. She continues to be my therapist while I'm in Salisbury because this is also through the VA hospital. I was a patient at the VA hospital in Atlanta, and moved to Salisbury, and I see my mental health therapist through the VA. So what she said, I will stay with you until you have been appointed a new therapist through the VA hospital in Salisbury. And I said, that's great. That's fantastic. So we were continuing talking on the phone and that sort of thing. We were doing our, thing through the phone. And she was the one who told me that she didn't use the word dysfunctional, but she was the one who's, I believe, first suggested that should start looking for relationships outside of my own family. And that was after I told her that I've been back from Salisbury, or I've been back to Salisbury from Atlanta for 6 months, and my family had not mentioned the transgender issue or subject, whatever you want to call it, once. They had not asked me any questions about it. They didn't bring it up in conversations. There was no, did you figure out what you're going to do? Are you going to take hormones? Are you going to cut your dick off? Nothing like that. And which was kind of, for me, it was very much a something's wrong here. It was a red flag. And because I had basically been banned from my father's house, in women's clothing, which I told him was the same thing as banning me from his house. So, but I told her that I said I've been back 6 months. They haven't mentioned the transgender thing once in 6 months since I've been back. And she said, I'm worried you're in an unhealthy environment. Just from me telling her that. And so that's where I got she thinks this is a dysfunctional family thing from. She didn't say that. This is me interpreting her reaction to what I said. Because after she said that, I went and looked up dysfunctional family, because I wondered, how did she come to that conclusion based on what I said? And then after reading about dysfunctional families, that was one of the characteristic signs of a dysfunctional family is what they call the elephant in the room. When there's a very touchy subject like that, like a member of the family comes out as transgender and is going around dressed in women's clothing and that kind of thing, and is talking about taking hormones to become a woman and stuff like that. That would be considered a very touchy subject, a very emotionally charged subject, the sort of thing probably that a family should talk about, but it is what people call the elephant in the room, if I haven't said that already. And that is one of these signs of a dysfunctional family, is that they don't, when the person who has caused the issue, or is, you might say the issue is kind of centered on them, like in this case me being the trans person, if a family does not talk about that issue when that person is around, that is a characteristic sign of a dysfunctional family. So that's where I was like, that's must be how she came to that conclusion. When she said, I'm worried you're in an unhealthy environment, I thought she knows that, or she knew that this is a symptom of a dysfunctional family. And but that is part of the conversation that I'm going to have here. It's not really a conversation, is it? It's more me just talking. So I would say that I did come from a dysfunctional family. I'm not an expert. I'm not a psychologist. I have read about dysfunctional families. I've read more than one article, and it wasn't, a Facebook meme. It was like actual. I wouldn't say an actual. It was an online. I don't remember how many sources I've read on that subject. I would say you can look it up. But my point is not to to blame my family, I guess. It's not about they're wrong, but this is more about where I'm coming from, right? just that one story gives you any idea about the whole. I'm not talking about it for 6 months, and I don't know what you think of a healthy what you think a healthy relationship is, a healthy family, or a functional family. I guess that would be what the opposite of dysfunctional would be, a functional, right? But that, as far as I can tell, that is kind of where I come from. Uh, which, and I don't. I'm going to get to what I mean by that. Because just to say that I come from a dysfunctional family, I feel like it's just too vague. Uh, Especially based on what I've read about dysfunctional families, because it's not at a very specific kind of thing. So why am I saying that I come from a dysfunctional family? Uh, well, for one, both of my parents come from dysfunctional families. So both of my parents come from families where the father was a alcoholic and abusive Marine. In the case of my mother, her father was sexually abusive also. For my father, there were no girls in that family aside from the mother, so sexual abuse could have been a problem, but I guess maybe it's not as likely in that case. I'm not sure. I don't really know. But I mean, I've heard stories. My mother told me stories about how her dad used to come home drunk and beat up her mother and would come into her room, while she was in bed and that kind of thing. And my father used to tell me stories about how it wasn't his father, actually, it was his stepfather. He used to beat up his little brother and that kind of thing when he was drunk. And so that's the environment that they came from, both of them, which could be why they got along, why they got together. Maybe they were some kind of sympathetic resonance there, where they were like, I feel your pain kind of thing. I feel like we see eye to eye kind of. But then they had me. Apparently, I was an accident. And then this is what I shouldn't say apparently. This is what my mother told me that. She said, you were an accident. They almost aborted me. I guess my brother was, once they had one kid, then the second one was not so, it's like, well, we already have one. Let's just go for another one. But then they were divorced 3 years after they got together. It was either 3 years after they got together or 3 years after I was born, which could be the same time. I'm not sure. And so they were, if that gives you any indication of kind of the dysfunction, the inability to relate. According to my father, my mother was a very difficult person to get along with, which was my experience. Because after they got divorced, I stayed with her. My brother and I both stayed with her. And I found her very difficult to get along with. So I remember butting heads with her quite often. I remember her being very condescending, and almost like she was trying to make me feel like I was inferior, especially to my brother, and that sort of thing, which was, according to my father, was how she treated him. And so I don't have good memories of that time. I lived with her until I was 8, and I only left because I had attacked my brother after he cheated at tic tac toe. We were using a wheel to make marks on a sidewalk, and when he cheated, he had two. There were 2 turns left in the game, but it was clear that there was no way for him to win. I had already won. He had to make his move, and then I would make my move, and the game was over. So he went twice. I grabbed the wheel out of his hand, and I threw it at him and hit him right in the middle of his back. And next thing I knew, I was at my dad's house. So he was already married again, and had his third child with his new wife, and then shortly later had his fourth child with his second wife. And then shortly after that, he had a vasectomy so that he could not have any more children. And 6 years after I got there, they were divorced. And I don't know if that tells you anything about kind of the healthiness, the integrity of these relationships that I was in and around. Once I got to his house, living in with him and his second wife, I never really felt like I was part of that family. Part of that was just that they kind of had their own. It was like they had already established a kind of, I don't want to call it a healthy relationship, but it was more like we're a group. It was almost like if a new kid comes to school, and the people in the class have already kind of established their cliques and that kind of thing. They may not necessarily be healthy relationships in those cliques, but they are established. And that's what I never felt like when I moved there. I never felt like I was established as a part of that group. But part of that was you might say, my reluctance to interact, to engage. Especially having just come from the situation with my mother where it was like a constant battle of wills. And I was, at this point, I was very well behaved. And I use quotations because the good behavior was not necessarily coming from a place of goodness. It was more a place of, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want another issue. I don't want to deal with more shit. So I'm just gonna make sure I don't bother anybody. I may start crying here in a second. And was that family dysfunctional that hit my dad and his second wife? Like I said, they were divorced 6 years after I got there. If that gives you any indication. That, from my perspective, like, I didn't feel like there were healthy connections there. I did not feel like I was personally, like, I had this strong connection with the people that I was there with. It was more like I'm a kid who just got knocked off a boat. I'm in the middle of an ocean and I have found another boat and I'm just holding on to it, kind of like this. And I'm just like holding on for dear life. Like, just, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just let me hang on to this boat, please. But I never really felt like I had been allowed into the boat, if that makes sense. Like I was just holding on to it, kind of. The relationships in that family, for me, I just feel like there was. I don't ever remember just like sitting down and just talking to somebody. And like just talking about like what I did in school or these sorts of things. There was my dad was very engaging. I'll put it that way. He did take us to do things. He bought us these remote control car things, and he took us to like this car dealership because they had a very big parking lot, and we you know was like showing us how to drive these remote control cars, and we were driving them around this car dealership parking lot. We would do stuff like that. He would take us camping and things like that. And he did talk to us. He did. There was some conversations. He did try to teach us a few things. Uh, and among all those relationships, I would say that was the strongest one that I had. Uh, but even that one, I kind of felt like if I had a problem, I didn't really necessarily feel like I could come to him with it. If that makes sense. It was more like uh, if I absolutely need something, like if I'm just like I need food, like I haven't eaten, I need food, that sort of thing. I feel like I could go to him with that. A lot of times, if I wanted something, I would have the third brother, the offspring of my dad and his second wife, their child. I would go to him and say, "Go ask Dad for this or whatever," because I was in this kind of like, they won't tell you no. They might tell me no because I'm on the back of the boat like this. You're in the boat, so you go ask them because they'll say yes to you, kind of thing. And I'm not gonna say that was intentional. Like I said, he was the child of the second wife. So from her perspective, it does make sense that she would favor her own child, right? so, but it did seem also like she's favoring this child, so my dad also has to. Not he doesn't have to, but I felt like that it wasn't a there wasn't any clear indication that we were all on equal playing ground. so, uh, so during this time, I was very before I moved in with my father. I did have friends. When I was living with my mother, I was pretty good at making friends. I was like a 6 year old. I did have friends that I would spend time with. There was a girl in my neighborhood who I used to spend a lot of time with. Her name was Sheila. She used to invite me, like she had a birthday party and she invited me, or maybe her parents invited me. I'm not sure. But I used to do stuff with her, and but when I moved in with my dad, I really did not make friends. Part of that was just because I didn't was not in a place where I could make friends, except for school. With my mother, we lived in a kind of a very big neighborhood in Chapel Hill, and when I moved in with my dad, we were in Charlotte for a little while in a trailer park, but there was a drive-by shooting, so we moved to China Grove, and in China Grove there was just not much around us. We were literally right beside a cow pasture, which was nice, but there were no kids kind of like in walking distance, in that area. Like my nearest friend at that time, I had to ride a bicycle to get to his house because to walk there would have taken me like the entire day. uh, so, I, so yeah, I did have friends then. The one that I just mentioned. I would go to his house because he had a Nintendo. He was the one who introduced me to Nintendo. It was Excite Bike. He had Excite Bike and Super Mario, I believe. But were we really friends? I would say it was more. I mean, we were kind of friends, but I think his Nintendo actually and I were better friends than he and I were. Like I was more enchanted by his Nintendo than I was by him, which is not to say make any judgments about him, but it was just more. I was kind of like that way about people in general. For most of my childhood, I preferred video games over people, and especially once Nintendo came out. I mean, we before that we had an Atari and all that stuff, but I'm struggling a little bit because I am not sure kind of if there's a point that I kind of want to attach all these stories to. If that makes sense. Like I don't know if there's a somewhere I'm going with this, but I do want to just tell you, but kind of talk about relationships and kind of holding on to the idea that mental illnesses are related to, or at least caused by a lot of them. Maybe not 90+%. I don't know about that statistic, but I would say that at least a lot of them are caused by personal relationships, family relationships, these sorts of things. Now, I did kind of forget to add that I said I come from a dysfunctional family, and I don't mean to say that I don't have that same dysfunction. I don't mean to say that I am an expert at relationships because I am not. But that is kind of one of the, you might say, the if you're going to diagnose a family as dysfunctional, what are you talking about? You are talking about the relationships in that family. It's not like, well, the family is, they're all mentally ill. It's that the relationships themselves, the bridges between the family members is they're not strong. That they are in some sense cut off, and that's kind of how I felt with my family, basically from the time that I was a small kid, all the way up until now. And when I'm sitting here tonight, frustrated, thinking about going out, it's not my family that I feel like is necessarily the issue, because I don't want to go out with my family. But there does seem to be a lot of that around. So my dad did get married again. Like I said, his second wife. They were together for 6 years after I moved in with them. They got divorced. I don't know the reason. I was given a reason. It was kind of a hearsay kind of thing, secondhand information. What I was told was that his wife wanted a nicer house. We were living in a mobile home, manufactured home, next to a cow pasture. We had goats and chickens and things like that. And apparently, what she wanted was a normal life, brick house, and no goats and chickens, and just kind of just whatever. This is what I was told, but so that's not necessarily the result of a bad relationship. But from my perspective, what I saw was that there was trouble in the relationship itself between those two. So he got married again, and same thing. I mean, it was just at least how, as far as how I relate to the new family. There's no connection. There's no. I mean, as long as I've been in that family, there just hasn't been those situations where it's like I have these established connections, just kind of where I can just sit and talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like I can just sit down and talk to somebody about whatever. Uh, So I was never. Uh, his third marriage was when they got married when I was in high school, and during that time I didn't talk to anybody at all really. And once the second marriage ended, I pretty much turned into a, what is that called? I don't know. Uh, I was withdrawn, uh, very much withdrawn. I kind of felt like this was if there was the time in my life there when I really did not want people to look inside me or to pry inside me. It was then. There were so many just bad feelings I had that I just didn't want people to see, and that I just kind of felt like I don't want to talk to anybody. You know, I did talk to people, uh, but it was just a very like if I had the money myself during that time to go see psychologists, I would have seen a different psychologist every day of the week. Because I just felt like, one of the things that kind of was hitting me in the head over and over again is that I can't rely on this family situation. That I can't rely like I just have to give up the idea of ever having like a mother and a father kind of in the same house, that sort of thing. Because once my dad got to his third marriage, I mean the new mother pretty much was just like, just not even trying to be my mother, and which was something that was a conscious decision, partly from my dad's influence, but also from me, my perspective. I'm like, I don't want another mother. I was already at this point. I was just kind of like, fuck this, you know, like you guys do what you want. I think I'm gonna go try to make it on my own, which is pretty much how I've lived my life since then. And like I went to college after that, after I graduated high school, and I've talked about this before, how I started to come out of my shell in college, which was partly due to the people that I was with. There was one guy in particular there who helped me come out of my shell, not on purpose, but just by him being himself. And also the drugs, the drinking, and that sort of thing. When I first got drunk, I totally came out of my shell, like just like a flood out of a broken dam. So I'll be back. It'd be kind of cool if me talking about this subject had any kind of like scientific value. Like if there's some like psychologist out there who's like, hey, this is gold right here. Of course, if you're a psychologist, you've probably heard shit like this 1,000 times. I don't know. Here's the prosperity. So, yeah, once I got to college, I did start to come out, being away from my family, kind of being on my own, and kind of being in this space where it's like now I kind of get to dictate which way I'm going, and that sort of thing. Uh, I did kind of, I was reborn in a way. As I've said several times in videos in the past, I did not finish. I was only there for a year and a half because once I started to socialize and that kind of thing, I lost interest in class and became more interested in using drugs and hanging out with my friends and that sort of thing. And then that became my life. Afterwards, I got sent back. They put me on suspension, and I went back to live with my family again. And I kind of started to see drugs and alcohol as my savior in a way. And I don't know if I need to even go any further into what happened as a result of that. Here I am still drinking, Not like I used to, like I'm not drinking to get shit faced. But once I came back to that family situation, being in Salisbury, the same town I'm in now. This was back in 1995. So I am here now because my family, my dad he is still on his third marriage, and they are still together, and they are still in the same place. And so when I came back from college, was here, very similar situation to what I'm in now. There was just nothing to do. I didn't know of anything to do aside from just getting drunk with people and getting high and that kind of thing. And if you talk to people from this area, especially people who are my age, young people, and say, "What is there to do in Salisbury?" They'll say they get fucked up, you know, go to somebody's house and get drunk, or go to a bar and get drunk, or get stoned or whatever. Salisbury is one of the most dangerous cities in North Carolina. And if I had to guess, I'd say that's largely because there is nothing for people to do here. It's very much a nothing to do but to do drugs, you know. So having come back from college, where that was kind of what I was doing, then I came back to kind of I just picked up where I left off when I got back. And I wasn't really big into drugs when I first got back. It was more just alcohol and Robitussin. I remember going to the mountains with a bunch of guys from work. When I came back, I went to work at a warehouse, and I met some guys there. There was like 5 of us. I had a Jeep Cherokee, and we all went up to the mountains in my Jeep Cherokee, which I thought was kind of something out of a movie, you know, like I just pictured, like, you know, like these movie things, like a bunch of guys go to the mountains and get drunk and that kind of thing. But that's pretty much what it was. So the thing with that, when you're like just getting drunk with people, getting fucked up with people, those are not typically good relationships. For me, all of those people that I used to hang out with to get and got fucked up with and that kind of thing, I don't talk to any of them anymore. People I went to high school with, I don't talk to anymore. Of course, I just stopped talking to them as soon as I left high school because I really didn't talk to them while I was in high school. So, but there were probably, I don't know, at least 50 people that during when I first got back from college, that I may have gotten high with or got drunk with or whatever, who maybe we had a good time, but for me it was really more just about it was just about getting fucked up. It was more about just avoiding reality, about avoiding sobriety and that sort of thing. And like I said, they were not good relationships. And during that time, when I look back, I don't remember ever having like a really just profound conversation with somebody. And by profound, I don't mean philosophically profound, but I mean like just like what I'm talking about now, like just talking about things like relationships, just talking about like how you feel about something, or like what was your family life like, or whatever. It was usually just random drug conversations. I mean, for lack of a better, I don't know how else to put it. I don't want to say they were meaningless conversations, but that's kind of what I'm saying. It was very much a situation where like you might hang out with somebody for a few weeks, but then you drop them on a dime, like, or I would, or they would drop me on a dime because of some issue. Uh, like there was 2 guys that I used to hang out with who played guitar, and I was at that time I was learning how to play guitar, so we spent a lot of time together, you know, kind of just drinking and talking about playing guitar. A lot of times we weren't playing guitar, sometimes we just talk about it, and there was a girl kind of in that mix, and guess who she was in love with? She was in love with me. And I said that like that because I didn't like her. But the other two guys were in love with her, and they both were just head over heels for this girl. And I was just like, yeah, no, thank you. I shouldn't say it that way because if she watches this, she'll be like, that's, that's kind of rude. Because that's not, I wasn't like, like you're a turd, but it was just like, no, I'm not interested. I'm really just not. But at that time, I was doing Robitussin with them a lot. Usually by myself. They would be drinking, and I would be doing Robitussin, and I would just be just like the life of the party a lot of times. And but that ended because of that. It was like I think I did something with her. I think we took a bath together or something one time. She kept telling me that she was in love with me and this sort of thing. And at one point I was just like, "You want to take a bath together?" or something like that. I don't know if it was my idea or her idea, but anyways, we took a bath together. The other two guys found out about it, and they were just like, "Fuck you." That was the end of it. We were not friends after that. And that's kind of how my relationships were. Like the guys from the warehouse that I went to the mountains with, as soon as I quit my job at the warehouse, that relationship ended. And that's how it has been. Because and I kind of see it almost like as that's just how it is. And now I do have friends now who would say that's not how it is. If you want to keep in touch with these people, you can, you know. But I don't know how many jobs I've had in my life. I've never had a job more than 4 years. So I started working when I was 16. So even if you assume that I had a job every 4 years, from 16 to 46, what is that, 30 years? So that's about 8 different jobs that I've had. So if you assume which is that's the, you might say the minimum, uh, I've had 8 jobs where I spoke to people, was friendly to people, but now they're out of my life. Guys, when I joined the army, I hung out with these guys, got drunk with them, went to bars with them, went to the beach with them. Don't talk to them at all now. And a lot of that was the same thing. It was like the conversation. I don't want to say necessarily was the conversation because I don't know if it's necessarily something that you have to talk about. I do actually imagine that members of a band may actually have a better connection than people who just talk. Like John Lennon and Paul McCartney probably have a better connection just through making music together than say, I did with like guys in the army, from hanging out with them. If that makes sense. And people will say, well, John, they were together for years. That's not my point. My point is that one, what is it? What is it that makes connection possible? In my experience, I feel like music is part of that. Not just playing music. Like if I were to just go out in the street and play music by myself, I may not necessarily connect with the people who hear me. But to have someone play with me, I feel like is a very, for me, it is connecting, or a way to connect. And I say that because of the experiences that I've had playing music with other people. I did have one opportunity once. I played with my brother. I was trying to teach my brother a song or something, and we played it for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I kind of felt like, hey, we're actually getting somewhere. Like I actually feel like there's a kind of intermingling of spirits, whatever you want to call it, emotions. I don't know. But then that was the end of it. Uh, so yeah. So in the last 6 months, I've changed jobs twice. So I'm working for my father again after having just left Roses, where I was at for maybe a week, after having just left Home Depot, where I was at after having just left working for my father. So, I'm thinking about this now because I did just leave these places. So some of these people still, you know, I might still be on their mind. And so at the moment, I'm kind of wondering, will I go back to Home Depot and talk to some of these people, or to Roses and talk to some of these people and just visit them, maybe say, hey, I want to be friends. Let's be friends. But that is kind of where I'm a little bit like, I don't know how to be a friend, you know? This is where my own kind of internal dysfunctional family member bit comes in and is like, being close to somebody? No. Yeah. You know, like actually letting someone into my heart. Yeah, I don't think there's room in there for that. I only got room in here for me, you know? So, uh, but that's what people have been telling me since, especially after I came out as trans. I shouldn't say especially. No, yeah, especially after I came out as trans because, like, I was seeing a psychologist for years before I came out as trans, before I even thought that I was trans. I think my first therapist asked me if I was trans, and I think I said no. Uh, I don't remember. I don't know where that came from. I almost have a hard time believing that it didn't happen because I have a hard time believing that I would just make something like that up without any. But I kind of just had this vague memory of somebody asking me if I was trans, and a psychologist, and I believe it was her, and I'm fairly certain I said no. And this was around 2007. So it was around 2007 that I fell in love for the first and really only time. There have been, I have had several people in my life that I would say that I am in love with or have been in love with, but there was really only one who was kind of what I would call the love of my life. The one who just kind of just stuck out above all the rest as kind of the, like, if I were ever going to be married, she would be the one. And the other ones who I was in love with is more like maybe we could be married, but it's more like I really just would like to spend time with them, that sort of thing, be close to them. Uh, like some of the friends, I have two friends now. One of them has kind of disappeared. She went into hiding, and but the other one I talk to on a regular basis. Am I in love with him? It's a trans person from France. I would say arguably there is a kind of uh, attachment there for sure. Uh, I'm not necessarily in love like I am with the woman that I just mentioned, but it is a kind of, I wish he was here. If that makes sense. I've been several times when I just felt like if I had money, I would buy this person a plane ticket to come stay with me. But but It was the one when I fell in love that did shine a little bit of light on the relationships that I've had, and just how I felt about relationships. And one of the things that kind of came to mind during this time when I fell in love with her was that this whole thing of the fear of being exposed. Because when I met her, it became apparent to me that one of the reasons that I was in love with her was this feeling that I could expose myself to her, that I could just open up and just say, "Look inside," you know. And I wrote a poem about that because of that. It was something like, I long to feel the slide of love's warm fingers as they undress my vibrant soul, and leave it naked and exposed to be intently gazed upon by the one I adore. She is a gift from love herself, an assorted bouquet of all things beautiful. And that was largely why I was in love. That whole feeling of just being like that euphoric kind of thing was largely centered on that. It was like, ah, now I can finally show myself to somebody, which was something that prior to that I wasn't really conscious of. You know, there were times when I was conscious of it, like when I first came back from college from NC State in 1995. I became very conscious of it. It was like this feeling that I just cannot show myself to anybody. And that I wouldn't be well received. I would either I'd be ridiculed, I'd be rejected, whatever. But when I met this girl, it was like I can expose myself to her. Not only will I not be rejected, but she will love what she sees. You know, that's what I felt like. That she, if I show myself to her, she is going to absolutely love it. But that was when really became conscious, or just aware of this thing about exposing myself. That once I wrote that poem, especially, it was kind of like, yeah, you know, I am afraid to show myself to other people. Uh, which was, like I said, it was something I already knew, but it just brought it into better contrast. And so I do feel like that is, like I said, I'm not trying to give advice, but what I do feel like is that is part of a relationship, you know, of a healthy relationship, is some degree of exposing yourself. Because I've talked about how, like, when I moved in with my dad and his second wife, how I didn't feel integrated into that family, but there was really no time when I felt like I exposed myself. I was never like, hey, everybody, here I am, you know? There's nothing like that. There was, from my intention was almost to some degree not to draw attention to myself. And this is where I believe the trans thing comes in, because I mentioned that when I was with that family, that I was very well behaved and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until I started doing the whole trans thing that I had a dream. It was maybe the first year, second year that I started doing this stuff. I had a dream that I was back in elementary school, and I was a boy going to class. It was like fifth grade. Very much reminded me of the fifth grade, anyways, because I kind of remember that classroom. And I'm walking into class. I got a backpack on, and I sit down at my desk, and I'm going through my backpack, and I'm opening it up, and I see that there's girls' clothes inside the backpack, and I freak out. I'm like, oh shit! Like, what are these doing in here? But that wasn't really what the freak out was about. It's more like, I hope nobody sees this. You know, it's more like, you know, if I get found out, you know, I'm gonna be in deep shit, kind of thing. And but that's when in the dream, I'm thinking I need to just not draw attention to myself. I just need to be well behaved, not draw attention to myself, because I don't want anybody to go through my backpack and see what's inside my backpack. And I felt like that had basically, to some degree, kind of not necessarily explained my entire life, but had shined quite a bit of light on it because, like I said, I was very well behaved in that family. I was very well behaved in school. I was very much like, don't I don't want attention. I don't want you prying into my business. I really don't want you looking at me. Uh, Especially when I got to high school, like I said, or even in junior high, or even before then, really. Once I got to China Grove, I remember things like I got off the bus one day and went and stood in front of my neighbor's house and waited for the bus to leave so I could walk back to my house because I didn't want people thinking that I lived in the mobile home. And already at that time, I was kind of ow, I just bit my tongue. I was kind of like I don't want people to see this kind of like I have this internal kind of like shit, and I use the word shit intentionally. I don't use it to mean stuff. I use it to mean shit. Like I have to like this. There's like feces inside my being, and I don't want people to see it. And the mobile home was almost a representative of that. Like it's like almost a kind of symbol of kind of how I feel on the inside. And because the mobile home is shit, right? Uh, so fast forward to 2020 or 2021. One of the friends that I just mentioned, trans person who lives in France, Sasha, tells me the way to make friends is to show people you're whole, which for me is this similar thing to saying just expose yourself. You have this internal shit that you don't want people to see, your butthole. As far as I know, the hole is the butthole. I'm not entirely sure there. I never did quite get what the point of that whole show your hole thing was, but my friend did show me his butthole. Literally took a picture of his butt and was like, "Show people your hole." So I'm not gonna show my butthole. This is not a porn video. This is a YouTube video. You know, I may make a video at some point showing my butthole, but uh, if I were going to show my hole, if I were going to show that inner shit, that inner just junk that I don't want people to see, some of that is that really still there? I don't really know if that's still there or not. Uh, hmm. Hmm. What would I show? I mean, like if I were to say I want to be friends with you, and in order to be friends with you, I feel like I need to share something from myself. I need to show you something. I need to expose something uh, that maybe I've never shown anybody, or in the last first 30 years of my life or 40 years of my life, I was just afraid to show somebody. Uh, so of course, one of those things I've already mentioned it. The dream that I had when I was in school and I had the girls' clothes in my backpack. That was something I was afraid for people to see, and the way I took that dream was like that was actually saying to me like this is a part of who you are. These girls' clothes in this backpack are part of who you are. You're afraid to show people this side of you, right? Uh, and this is why you were well behaved. This is why you were fine with kind of hanging onto the back of the boat, and why you didn't want to get into the front of the boat with everybody else, even if maybe they didn't want you there. But maybe you were okay with being in the back because you're like, yeah, I'm fine with staying back here just as long as you don't pay attention to me. Uh, and you might think that a kid would want attention, but if they're trans, and they maybe at some point in my past realized that being trans is problematic. Maybe I thought, yeah, no, maybe I don't want attention. Maybe I'll wait until I get to 46 years old and I'm making YouTube videos to start to share myself. Is now the time for me to share myself? Can I share myself now? Am I free to share myself now? If I said, I don't know. I don't know. I swear I was about to say something, but I didn't know where that was going. I did not know where that was going. So I do have a friend. I have two friends, like I said, that I mentioned. One of them went in hiding. One of them lives in France. The one who went in hiding lives in Bangladesh. So they're both my friends are overseas. I don't know what's up with the one in Bangladesh. I don't know. She deleted her Facebook account and has messaged me a few times on her son's Facebook account. But I don't know what's up with that. But those friendships, from my perspective, are them. It is their efforts, their perseverance, their endurance, and their stick to itness that has built those friendships. So maybe that's the only thing to friendships. But even with them, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm not sure that they're really my friends. So there's a trust issue, I would say. But yeah. So I'm sitting here thinking, thinking about going out. What would I want to do? What could I do? What if I wanted to go out? If I wanted to be involved in something, one of the things that I would want to be involved in is relationship building. Like if I were I joked about building a temple to Aphrodite in the previous video, the confronting Salisbury video. I joked that was kind of a joke. It kind of wasn't. It kind of was. But when I say it's kind of not a joke, it is because I do actually see, like, if I were to build that temple to Aphrodite, and I said that the religion would be, we're going to show you what love is. I don't know what love is, but I do. If I were going to build that temple, that's what it would be. It would not be. It would be large part a practical religion, right? Like it wouldn't necessarily be a lot of like someone getting up on a pulpit and just pontificating, preaching, and that sort of thing. But it would actually be like more like you go to a group of people, you get into a circle, maybe you pair up, and you just sit and just talk to somebody, for an hour or whatever, just for the purpose of building relationships and that sort of thing. Because when I look at not just my own life, but this place where I live, this shit town that I live, where there's nothing to do really but do drugs and drink and that sort of thing, what I feel like is what this place needs is like an actual relationship building center. So it needs like a place for people to go where they, there's no alcohol, there's no drugs, there's nothing like that. You just go there because you want to be involved. You want to be integrated. You want to be engaging with people. It's think of like a bar, but where people go to just, they're not going there to get drunk. They're going there because they actually want to engage. That's kind of what I was thinking with this temple to Aphrodite. And this is not a pitch. I'm not here to pitch, to get money for my temple. Of course, I'm not really sure why I'm here. But that was kind of where I was at when I started this video, was just like, if I could do anything I wanted here, if I could make a change here to make this city a better place, what would I do? There would be a place, as I said in the previous video, the temple would be 24/7. I did talk about like prostitution and things like that, but maybe that would actually be part of it if I were to actually do it. But what I'm thinking in this video, before I made this video, was not really about the temple to Aphrodite, but more just a like how to get people involved together, these sorts of things. At the moment, like I said, I do have 2 friends, but they are both overseas, so I don't have anybody here where I have like an actual face-to-face relationship with somebody that I feel like is a sturdy, steady, healthy relationship. And that, for me, is where I'm a little bit stuck. So like I said, my therapist has told me to go outside my family and start building relationships, which was something that I've never done. As I said, in the past, when I was hanging out with people, it was almost always a drug kind of induced relationship, for lack of a better phrase, a drug centered relationship, maybe. So I don't know how to go out and just build relationships. So I don't know. Maybe I'm coming upon my own solution here. Maybe that's the whole point of this video, is for me to come upon my own solution. So I was just at the bookstore today, and I asked them if they had any kind of reading groups and that sort of thing. They said they did. They have a reading group and a writing group. So I think I may go check out the writing group. But I'm also thinking that I may just create a group of my own, and I may not build a temple. It may just be a group that meets at a bookstore or something. There goes the southern accent again. Yeah, that meets at a bookstore or something like that. But I don't know. Like, what would the how would the group go? Would it be like, hey, we're gonna get together and we're all gonna be friends? I'm gonna start a friendship group. Isn't that what church should be? Like, if you think about like what Christianity should be, do you not think it's like it should be like real friends? Like that is, if you think of religion as a practical enterprise, something that can actually make your life better and that sort of thing, like what would be the kind of the end result of Christianity? It would be that you are the best friend around. Like, everybody wants to be your friend because you're so good at being a friend, because being a Christian is kind of makes you being a good friend, right? But of course it's not like that. Christians don't necessarily make the best friends. But that is kind of my question. Like, if I were going to, say, start a group or start a religion, start a cult, whatever you want to call it, and the objective of that group was to learn how to make healthy connections with other human beings, how would I do that? I don't know how to do that. I've never had a healthy relationship. You know, aside from like I said, I like have these two friends who are overseas. I count them as friends. I count them as the closest thing to healthy relationships that I've ever had. Uh, but when it comes to, like I said, like face to face, like we're spending time together, maybe on a daily basis, maybe just once a week or whatever. Uh, like I said at the very beginning, like I came from a dysfunctional family. I don't know what a functional family actually looks like. So, and then now I'm not talking about like a mother, father, and children. I'm talking about just an actual group of people. Like where how does a functioning healthy group of people get along? That is where I don't know. I don't know how to do that. Maybe that's something I could look up, But I also kind of feel like that's something that you kind of need experience. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't really necessarily watch a video of, like, say, I looked up healthy relationship on YouTube and I see a video of, like, two people getting along. Is that going to be enough for me? I mean, to have healthy relationships? Maybe what I need to say to somebody is not the same as what you need to say to somebody, or what Bob or Steve or Sarah or Susan needs to say to somebody. You know, so I don't know if there is a fixed recipe, a book recipe where I could just look it up and say this is the way to a healthy relationship. You need 2 cups of honesty, 3 cups of integrity, 4 cups of non-judgmenting. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm counting the empty beer cans I have here. I have 5 beer cans here. 3 of them are empty. So that means I have 2 more. So now, one of the things that I did, I wouldn't say left it out because I wasn't even planning on talking about that. But when people talk about relationships with other people, uh, you know, somewhere in there is the conversation about the relationship with yourself, right? Because I'm not just in a relationship with other people, I'm also in a relationship with myself. But, so if I were going to have a healthy relationship with somebody else, uh, and like I said, I don't necessarily know like the recipe. I don't know. I couldn't write a guidebook. I don't know if there is a guidebook to how to have a healthy relationship. I imagine there might be advice, tips, guides to having healthy relationships. Like I imagine being honest, being trustworthy, uh, spending quality time together, things like that. Exposing yourself to some degree. These are all parts of having a healthy relationship. But I do agree with that statement that you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. But I'm also a little bit like, even when the first time I heard that, I thought, well, that makes sense. But what if the reason I don't love myself is because I can't have a good relationship with other people? Uh, for me, that was one of my grievances against myself. Was I was very much down on myself because I had so many failed relationships, or I had so many relationships where I started and then I just kind of let them go. Like in high school, like I said, like I was in high school, I didn't talk to anybody after I graduated. I was just like, forget about these people. And I'm not going to say that I should go look up all my high school compatriots. What's the other word for compatriots? Uh, compadre? No. Compadre is synonymous with compatriot, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Comrade. Comrade is the word I was looking for. My comrades. What does the word comrade actually mean? What is camaraderie? Shining together? I'm thinking of the roots like calm and rad. Like, what is the rad root? Rad is radiation, right? I don't know what else. What else could it be? Shining together. We're all gonna shine together. There comes the southern accent again. We're all gonna shine together. Hallelujah. We're gonna go up on the top, the hilltop. Go up on the hilltop, and we're all gonna shine together from the hilltop. And people will say, "Hey, there's the city of lights up there on the hill." And we'll say, "No, it's just us and our comrades." Comrades. Is it counterproductive for me to be drinking while I'm making this video? Am I shooting my own point in the foot? Am I taking my point, shooting it right in the foot? Because I suggested that we might be able to be friends, but here I am drinking. So maybe we can't be friends because I can't stop drinking. Right? Should I stop drinking? If you want to be my friend, tell me if I should stop drinking or not. Why am I drinking? One of the reasons is because I feel like drinking helps me to expose myself. I knew I wanted to make a video. That's why I'm not gonna say that's why I started drinking here, but that was what I was thinking. Was that, hey, I'm gonna make a video, and I am going to want to expose myself. I'm going to want to let things out, and so let's have a few beers. If I were going to make a group for the purposes of building healthy relationships, would drinking help? Would it make it better? Would it make it worse? I don't know. In this city where I live, this town, Salisbury, when I walk around, when I meet people, the impression that I get is that the average person here, and I don't mean that it's not like this elsewhere, because in Atlanta it was like this also, but the average person just does not know what a healthy relationship is, and so that's kind of where I'm a little bit like you might say, well, just go ask the average person how to have a healthy relationship, and they'll tell you. But when I look at the average person, I feel like, yeah, you don't know what a healthy relationship is. And of course, people will say, well, you don't know what a healthy relationship is, so you can't judge other people and you can't. If you don't know what a healthy relationship is, you can't say what a healthy relationship is not. Whatever, I don't know. I would not say that when I was young that I did not feel seen. Actually, I would say that, but I would add on top of that I did not want to be seen. But I've already said that, so. So right now, what I'm thinking is, if I were going to expose a part of myself, if I said I want to make friends with you, I want to make friends with you, and then we're going to expose something. Something that I don't typically show people. In order to make friends with you. what would it be? If I think about it too hard, I almost feel like it's not going to happen. I do feel like it is related to the gender thing. I do feel like, because I don't know if you noticed it, how I kind of changed my stuff. As soon as I asked myself that question, I kind of started to change my 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 mannerisms and my behavior. You know, which makes me think that the gender thing is a large part of what it is that the reason that I don't have friends, that I don't have healthy relationships. If you're going to have healthy relationships, is expressing gender a part of that? You know, people talk about like gender identity dysphoria, things like that, and expressing your gender. Now, it might seem obvious that if you're in a love, like romantic relationship, like a boyfriend girlfriend type relationship, in that situation, then expressing your gender might seem to be of primary importance. But if you're just making friends, does expressing your gender, is that a big part of that? Like I was talking about, like these people that I used to get drunk with and get fucked up with. Is the reason that I'm not still friends with them, that I never really was friends with them, is it because I just didn't express that part of myself? Are there other parts of myself I could have expressed? You know. What I think is that if I had started doing this gender stuff a long time ago, I would have a lot more friends now than I do. I don't have any. Like I said, aside from those two, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. Okay. Yeah. Is it even possible for me to make friends in a video? Uh, I didn't think about that when I first asked that question. Like, if I was asking like, what could I do? You know, like in this video to make you want to be friends with me, or to even actually make a step towards becoming friends with you. Uh, I didn't ask the question, is it even possible to do in a one, this is like a, what is this, a one-way street here, right? Uh, so maybe it's not possible. Maybe for friendships to exist, there has to be kind of a two-way street where like I say something and you have the opportunity to respond, you know, immediately. In this case, I'm just talking, so I don't know who I'm talking to. I just took another estrogen pill. When I say it, I just took another one, I mean I took more than my prescribed dose. My dose is 2 per day, so I just took my third. It's not because I suspect my endocrinologist doesn't know what he's talking about, because he did kind of tell me not to do that. But it's because I'm kind of like, maybe I'll just get a little extra advantage. So, I don't know. Like, do I need to talk in a normal girl's voice for us to be friends? That's not the normal girl's voice I was going for. I wasn't going for the southern accent. I'm not sure where the southern accent came from. I think it maybe I just needed to get it out of my system. I'm not entirely sure. I really don't know. For one, I do feel like it is certainly not my ordinary voice. It is certainly very distinct from my ordinary voice. And I don't really have many other accents up my sleeve. So, like, I tried to do the British accent, but I can't even. I can do the T's. That's about it. Like, instead of saying Beatles, you say Beatles. Can you play any Beatles? That's about the extent of my British accent. So, yeah, I guess in to some degree, I should point out that making friends is not the primary motive here. Like I said, the relationship with myself is, it's like Jesus says, the first commandment, the greatest of all commandments, is to love your Lord God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul. But what does that mean? If God is somewhere out there, isn't that a little bit meaningless? But if you say God isn't here, right, then doesn't that to some degree mean love yourself? Is it not the same thing? Love yourself with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul. Isn't that kind of what it means? If God is here, right? If God is up there, then how can you love God? You don't, are you gonna send him a letter in the mail? What's going on? Or are you just gonna talk to him? Be like, I hope he's listening to me. God, what are you? I'm not sure which way you are, but I just want to say thank you, and I kind of would like to have some friends. You know, I would kind of would like to have some friends, and why do I want friends? I'm not sure. I really don't know. That's a good question. Why do I want friends? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Is it because I feel like a loser not having any friends? I feel like a weirdo. Could I go the rest of my life with not having any friends? I don't know. Is it just because people keep telling me to go make friends? My psychologists and my other friends they're saying go make relationships. So, can you help me with that? What do I need to do? Do you want me to make friends, or am I just is that am I maybe you want me to be a loner, like a tiger? You want me to wander around the wilderness all on my own and just be strong and self sufficient? Maybe you don't want me to make friends. Maybe that's why I never had friends. I don't know. Now I'm confused. I should have just kept that to myself. But thanks, God. I appreciate that. What am I going to do now? I don't even know what to do. Should I make friends? Shouldn't I make friends? If I had friends, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do if I had friends. One of the things I did forget to point out, though, too, is that I feel like in order to have a relationship, a good one, you need someone who can receive you to some degree, unless you want to be a therapist. Like, I almost feel like in order to have healthy relationships, I almost feel like I need to go study psychology for 50 years. Is that a good idea? Go study psychology for 50 years and then come back and be a professional friend maker? I'm a professional at making friends. Are there any professional friend makers? People who are just really good at making friends. They're so good at it, they get paid for it. Is that what ambassadors are? Ambassadors and diplomats? They're just really good at. They're just really good at getting along with people. I don't know. Here comes the Southern accent. What's up with that? Is it the beer? Is it my brain just the path of least resistance? The Southern accent, for whatever reason, stuff just starts coming out. It's almost like I'm watching a comic strip unfold right before my eyes. Would we be friends if I showed you my titties? If I showed you my titties, would that make us friends? Or would you think I was a slut and I just wanted some dick in my mouth? How's that? I'm all white. Oops, I think I just showed my nipple. Don't tell YouTube. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to do it. I shouldn't mess around with that. I shouldn't even be playing around with that. Now people watching and be like, "Oh shit, you're drunk. Time to turn this thing off." Southern accent is out. We already know. We watched all your videos. No, you didn't. You didn't watch my videos. I know you didn't. I got like two views on my videos, maybe at the most, on average. You didn't watch my videos, so is that bad friendship? Did I already break the first rule of friendship? Did I break it just by drinking beer? Is this not the way? Is this the counterproductive? How can I share stuff from my heart? The first time I got drunk, apparently, I just started sharing stuff with people. And I think that's where the magic, that's why I fell in love with alcohol. Because I was, like I said, in high school, I didn't talk to anybody. So when I first got drunk in college, and I just started, that faucet got turned on, I was like, this shit is amazing. This is the best stuff ever. I love alcohol. Because I'm out of my shell now. I'm out of my shell. I just came out running. It's all thanks to this stuff right here. This golden liquor. This golden liquid. Is what I meant to say. Yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks I need to get drunk. Which was something that I thought years ago when I was dating a girl. When I first got back from college, not first got back. I got back around 18 years old, and around 22 years old, I started dating a girl. And I thought, in order to get her to love me, she needs to see me inebriated. Because I mentioned before that there was a girl who was in love with me, and that was, from my perspective, because she was only seeing me when I was high on Robitussin. She would see me when we would get to these get-togethers with me and these two other guys, the two guitar players, and I would drink Robitussin and just start putting stuff out. I'm just like a. It's like whatever's on my mind. I just throw it out there, and because of that, she fell in love with me, and it was, from my perspective, because of the Robitussin. And so I met this other girl who I actually was interested in at the age of 22. Very good looking blonde girl with nice legs, nice tits, nice butt. She was a little bit overweight, but she was still very pretty. Still, I mean, there's some girls who are overweight, but still, they're the underlying. I don't want to call it the underlying because it makes it sound like the fat is like a suit or something. But That's kind of how I saw it. Because like the when I saw her, you know, I kind of had this feeling like that's not the real you. You know, like I kind of felt like there's a part of her that wanted to be thin and sexy and that kind of thing. And she was sexy, like I said. She still had the proportions, you know, because she was overweight, but it was in all the right places. I mean, she was what they now call thick, you know. But so I liked her. I was interested in her. She was not someone that I could have conversations with. I tried, and she just was like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about stuff." Like I asked her once what she thought the purpose of life was, and she said, "I don't want to talk about stuff like that." And but I thought to get her to love me, I had to be inebriated. I have to use the drugs to let this person out of the cage, you know, and it didn't work. It did not work. I sank further into depression largely because of that. Uh, Looking back on that now, what I think is I really had no business being in a relationship like that with her at all. Like we could have been friends, you know, but being a boyfriend, we were in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship. And looking back on that now, I think there was no that should have never happened. Is that something I need to talk about? If I want to be friends with you, do I need to give you the full disclosure of that relationship? That was my longest relationship. It was a 4-year relationship. Uh, 4 years. So it was not a bad relationship. What's funny is now that I'm telling this story and I'm looking at myself, I'm thinking I actually look like her. It's weird. It's like I cannot help but see her face in the screen now as I'm telling this story. But when I met her, uh, part of the appeal there for me was that I said it in a previous video that I grew up in an environment where people kind of frowned on girls acting like girls. I grew up in an environment uh, interspersed with people who were women who were misogynist, women who seemed to not like being women. And so that was part of the appeal for her. When I first met her, it was so refreshing and almost encouraging for me to meet a girl who just seemed to really just enjoy being a girl. You know, she was just very happy and very, very strong. In her personality, she was very. There didn't seem to be any kind of like being a girl sucks. You know, this is that kind of thing. Like I'm depressed and I got anxiety issues and you know I'm self conscious of my titties and all that stuff. There was none of that. She was the kind of girl. She's like hey. She wasn't doing it like you know like this, but she would do it sometimes. Like she would stand up and she'd be like, yeah, you know, showing off her boobs because she had these big D cup breasts, and uh, she seemed to feel very good about just being who she was, and that for me was enough to make me want to be around her. but I think it was particularly because she felt good about being a girl that made me attracted to her. Because, like I said, a lot of the girls that I've met before then and even since then are they just give me the impression. It's like, yeah, you don't want to be a girl. When I first came out as trans, I could almost like hear these people in my head saying, "Yeah, you don't want to be a girl. You don't. You really don't. It sucks." And I'm like, no, for my own good, I think I do. Yeah, and it's because of people like you. So yeah, in some way, I am trying to heal myself from damage done uh, by people who just hated on girls. Uh, is that because I am a girl? Or am I just a guy who cares about girls? I'm not entirely sure. Ay, ay, ay. My head is getting a little bit fishy. It's doing a little bit of this stuff. A wee wobble. Wee wobbles. Wee wobbles. If I could go back in time to NC State or to the Army or to the warehouse or to this girl that I just mentioned, and I think, what would I do in the interest of having a healthy relationship with this person? What would I do differently? What would I do? Like I said, or even just to go back in time. Like if I could go back now, and kind of jump back into that situation from where I'm at now. What would I do to in the interest of making friends? The answer seems to be front and center. I do believe it is the gender thing. It definitely seems to be a big part of that. I do, just making this video, I'm almost kind of convinced myself that just in order to make friends, that your gender expression is a key ingredient to that. That if you are, say, a woman, but you're pretending to be a man, then yeah, I think you might have a hard time making friends. Because for one, it's just my own ability just to make these videos and not feel so just uncomfortable that they just stutter into the ground. Because if say me from 2005, if I were to make these videos, I would just be kind of like and I would be like maybe able to talk for like 5 minutes before I felt like I had to turn the camera off. And so there goes number 4 out of 5. So this is 5 I've had today. I had 5 yesterday, and which means I've had 10 out of the 12 pack that I did not buy. So I do believe I should have to go buy another 12 pack to replace the 12 pack or the 10 of 12 pack that I drank. Which means I'm probably going to have more than 5, because once I open that one, that means I'll have 2. Did I tell you I went by the art museum today to ask for a job, which was unusual because that was a job that I actually wanted. that make us better friends? If I tell you about that story, do you want to hear that story? Huh? 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 You want to hear it? You want to hear? You want to hear? Uh, I've never had a job I liked. Never had a job I liked. I've always gone for jobs that were I was settling. I settled. I never went for jobs that I liked. There were not a lot of jobs that I did like, especially in the area where I lived. For me to get a job that I felt like is kind of my thing, I probably would have had to move somewhere else. Like I used to say that like my ideal job, like if I could have any job I wanted, I would work for like Pixar, Disney, or Industrial Light and Magic or something like that. Making movies, doing animations, whatever. And so yeah, in this area where I live, there's not a whole lot of things here. There's not jobs here. There aren't really jobs here that I look at and I think I really want to do that. Uh, so, but as you can probably guess already, I am into the arts. I am into painting, music, poetry, all that stuff. I feel a little bit weird at the moment. Is it from the beer? Is it from the beer? Should I not be drinking beer while I take estrogen? I took that. What is that? The third? Was that the third or the fourth? My memory's kind of bad. What if that was my fourth? What if I took one earlier and I forgot? Would you forgive me? Would you forgive me? Did I just trigger my need to drink by acting that way? When I was like, "Ooh." Is that why I drank immediately afterwards? Because I something about that just embarrassed me. Something about acting like that. You know, it just embarrasses me. It makes me wanna get drunk, cause I can't. It's so hard to look at for me. It's like I just don't want to look at it. Don't look at it. No, just get drunk. Just get drunk. Don't look at it. Is that what that was? Is my gender? What is my gender anyways? You know, it's like, is it my voice? Do I need to change my voice? Is it am I have I been talking in the wrong voice this whole time? What? I don't understand. I don't understand. Can somebody come rescue me, please? I need to be rescued. I need a big fellow with big hands. Come rescue me, please. I got a can. I can't open it. The lid is stuck. Somebody please come open my jaw. Can I jaw is what I meant to say, not can. Sorry, people. I really don't know if that was my third or my fourth. I do feel funny, but could be because of what I'm talking about. You know, it's because I don't usually do stuff like this when I'm drinking. Usually, if I'm drinking, I'm like watching YouTube videos or going to a bar and talking to people and that kind of thing. Uh, but 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 what if there was something that would be really embarrassing for me, really embarrassing for me? What would it be? I don't know. That how can I express it? How can I express it? Do I need to show you my boobies to express it? I have boobies now. I've been on hormones 10 months, a little bit over 10 months, and I have my breasts are larger than some cis women's. A lot of cis women. I look at some cis women like in movies. Like I was looking at uh, Was it Winona Ryder? Her breasts are kind of big. They're kind of big for her size because she's kind of small. But maybe it wasn't her. But I was looking at some women, some cis women. And I'm like, my tits are bigger than yours. I've been on hormones for 10 months and my tits are bigger than yours. My butt, though, my butt ain't all that great. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is that all I need to express? Do I just need to keep working? Do I just need to keep working on expressing my feminine side? Expressing my feminine side. Or just being confident in my feminine side? Would we be friends then? Would we be friends? Do I look like a woman to you? Or do I look like a freak? Can you be friends with a freak? Or do I have to be gorgeous? Yeah, do you know I see a lot of trans on YouTube who have a lot of followers, and what do you think? Are they ugly or are they good looking? If you had to guess, the trans with a lot of followers, are they good looking? Is that a condemnation? Did I just condemn people? I think I just condemned people. I really had not seen a lot of like ugly trans with a lot of followers on YouTube. I don't want to be ugly. I don't want to be ugly. If I were if I thought I was ugly, I mean, in some way I am. That's why I'm wearing a wig, right? I'm wearing a wig because I feel ugly without it on. I feel ugly without it on, but I don't know because it's like it's already bad enough to be trans, right? It's already bad enough to be trans. You got to deal with that. You already got to deal with that. You got to go out in public, expressing yourself, all happy. Like, hey, I'm expressing myself. Yeah, yeah. Oh, but no, I gotta go out in public. Oh shit, gotta go out in public, expressing myself. That ain't gonna work, because people out here, they'll laugh at me and they might even punch me in the face. They might push me down the stairs or whatever. So how am I gonna make that work? How am I gonna make that work? Uh, yeah, I don't know. I already lost track of my thought. Already lost track of my thought because I started thinking about something else. You know what I was thinking about? I thought about Atlanta. Not the last time I was there, but the first time I was there, like back in 1992. And I thought, what would it be like if I had gone to Atlanta as a trans woman in 1992? Was it 1992 that I went there? I don't remember. What I remember was that when I went there was a lot of live music. Just music all over. You'd walk down the street and you'd see like just bands playing just in little pockets. Over here, then you go over another place, like another mile or two up the street, and you see another band in their pocket. Just and I thought about that. I thought about what would it be like if I was there in that scene. It's because it's not like that now. But what would it be like if I was there as a trans woman? You know, on estrogen with the big old titties. And back then, I still had a full head of hair. So I could have grown my hair out, my own hair, and been hanging out with musicians. Hanging out with musicians in Atlanta. Probably would have had sex with some of them. I don't know. Because apparently I have a need for sex. Imagine that. A need for sex. I don't know. Is that true? Do I need sex? I'm not sure if I need sex or not. But, yeah. I do. I do think I might be trans. I think I might be trans. Does that mean we can't be friends? Can we be friends if I'm trans? Maybe you're trans and you think, yeah, I can't be friends with you because maybe you're still transphobic too. You know, maybe I'm transphobic. I'm a transphobic trans. That's why it took me so long. That's why I'm sitting here. At 46, I was 39 when I first came out as trans, but at 46, I'm still saying I think I might be trans. Why? Because I might be transphobic. I might have been conditioned from the time I was a kid to believe that me acting like a girl was wrong. Would you believe that? Would you believe that? That I was conditioned? Not on purpose. Not like it's not like as part of a organizational doctrine. It's not like society said, "Hey, we're gonna condition all our boys, make sure they don't act like girls." It's more the unspoken rule, right? Because that is the. It's not necessarily unspoken because it is spoken, right? You shouldn't be acting like a girl. How many times in my life did I hear something like, "Hey, you're sitting like a girl." I had my legs crossed. You're sitting like a girl. I'm like, oops, I didn't know. I was just sitting here with my legs crossed. When I used to play baseball, I don't know how many times I heard somebody say, "You throw like a girl." I don't mean they was talking to me, but just hearing that, whether it was to me or to somebody else, just hearing that is like, okay, I guess I can't throw like a girl. I guess, doing anything like a girl is not really good, I guess. That's kind of the message there is that, like, sitting like a girl apparently is not good. Throwing like a girl apparently is not good. Of course, crying, if you start crying, then people are going to say, well, you're acting like a girl. You're being a pussy. And what is a pussy? What is a pussy? America right now is asking, what is a woman? But I'm asking, what is a pussy? Because I think that's a more important question, because people don't seem to know the answer to that question. What is a pussy? But, so yeah, I guess maybe I was conditioned through social norms, social, what do they call that? Social contagion. Is that a social contagion? It says, men can't act like girls. They need to act like John Wayne. They need to act like Clint Eastwood. And be all stern and stiff. And be like, "Hey, Pilgrim, I'm having a heart attack. Cause I can't express myself. I never expressed myself in my life. Oh my God. Uh, uh, John Wayne died with like 35 pounds of feces in his intestines. That's to say, he was full of shit. John Wayne was full of shit. 35 pounds of feces in his intestines got blocked up. Apparently, somebody said because he ate a lot of red meat. I'd say it's because he probably never expressed himself a day in his life. Never expressed himself a day in his life. Not once. I'm just joking. I don't know. It kind of went with that. It kind of went with the whole 35 pounds of feces locked up inside him, because that's what I feel like sometimes. Like I got 35 pounds of feces in my insides. And it's from not expressing myself. Not expressing myself. Is that part of being friends? Part of being friends is expressing yourself. You gotta express yourself if you want to be friends with somebody, right? You gotta express something. You can't just sit there and say nothing. You gotta sit and meditate like the Buddha. Boom, boom. That's all you say. Boom. That's all the Buddha ever says. Boom, boom. I hear you, Buddha. I hear you loud and clear. Gotta express yourself, because no one else is gonna do it for you. No one else is gonna do it for you. No one else. No one else. So, what do I need to express? What do I need to express? Do I need to express my inner femininity? My inner femininity? Oh. Is being a friend, do I need to just kind of just be dumb? You know, do I just need to get rid of my brain and just shut my brain off and just be like, I'm just going to be dumb for a little bit. I'm just going to be dumb. Because otherwise you're just being too careful. You're always so careful. So careful. Trying to make sure that people like you, but nobody likes you because you're too careful. Too careful. Is that such a thing? Can you be too careful that nobody really likes you? They just talk to you because they're like you. They're being careful too. And they say, hey, this person's being careful, so I think I'll talk with them for a little bit. And then you talk for a little bit, but then you get tired, and you're like, why do I feel so exhausted from having a conversation with this person? Why does it feel like work? Is it because you're being too careful? And so you're like, well, maybe I should get drunk, and then we'll have a conversation. And am I drunk now? I've had 5 beers. 5 beers. And I'm an alcoholic. Technically. Or not technically. I'm not sure how it works. But 5 beers is not a lot for me. So that was my point. So this is me. See, I almost did it. Trying to defend my actions. Because I don't want you to judge me. I don't want you to judge me as drunk. Why don't I want you to judge me as drunk? Is it the social stigma of being drunk? Is it actually is there a helpful and practical purpose to being drunk? If we was to be in a clinical or ritual setting and say, hey, there's a helpful benefit to being drunk, and we're going to put it to use right now. Do you think that exists? Do you think it's possible that alcohol could be put to good use, like it was for me my first time getting drunk? That was a very healing experience, because I saw a part of myself that had been locked away, like it was in a cage. So There are times when I really like myself, and there are times when I really don't like myself, and it's when I look at myself. When I say I like myself, what I mean is like I look at myself and I see like a person that I could be. And when I don't like myself, it's more because of like who I am, who I'm being at the moment, and it's partly because I'm not being the person I think I could be. Right? Does that make sense? Did I make sense? Should I just slobber all over myself? Should I just pour this over my head? See, is the alcohol doing some good in this situation? Is it actually helpful in this situation? Because I'm being very conscious of it, and I'm being what is the word mindful? I'm being mindful of my alcohol usage. I'm questioning whether it has a place here or not. Now here I am looking like the girl that I just dated for 4 years. Not just dated; it was a long time ago. But I do look like her. I got that same kind of fat face. And the same nose. Was that a beer burp? Was that a beer burp? I probably should work on the faces I make when I burp because that doesn't look like a girl at all. What is that? How does a girl burp? Does you? That doesn't look good either. Maybe I should just stick my head back and be like, I don't know. Does being friends in some way imply being like children again? Do I need to be like a child again? Is that why the Bible says I need to be born again? I gotta be like a little child again. Get rid of all this social conditioning that's on my brain, just going, bah, 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 you gotta act this way, bah, 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 you gotta act that way, bah, 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 you gotta act this way, bah, bah, oh my God, oh my God! Yes, yes. Don't act like crazy person. Don't act like crazy. Don't act like crazy. Don't act like crazy person. Don't act like girl. Don't act like crazy. Don't act like weirdo. Oh my God, I got. Is it the beer that's making me act that way? Or is it just 2,000 hours of making this video that's making me act that way? Am I starting to get a little bit tired of this? 5 beers in. What are we doing, folks? What is this? What are we doing? What are we doing? We're gonna make it somewhere. We're gonna make it somewhere. We're gonna make it somewhere. Where are we going though? I don't even know where we're going. I don't. Who knows where we're going? I don't know where we're going. That didn't work. It didn't work. You caught me. It was a lie. What happened? Yeah. Am I Tom Cruise? Did I just turn into Tom Cruise for a second? Did you see that? Next, I'll turn to John Travolta. Because they're both the same person. Kind of. Am I me? Am I the people that I've known? I think it is funny that I see the girl that I dated a lot of times when I look at myself in the screen. I see her. It is a little bit strange, huh? Does that mean in some way she is me? What's up with that nose? What's up with that nose? She is me. I'm trying to pump my back, folks. Here comes that brain again. Here comes the brain again. Falling on my head like a memory. Falling on my head like a new emotion. Baby. Here comes the brain again. What is the brain doing? What is my brain doing? What is the hole I need to show you so we can be friends? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is it do I need to express my anger? My anger? Do I need to express my righteous anger? Do I need to express my anger? My anger. My anger at what? What am I angry about? Am I angry? Do I seem angry to you? Am I suppressing my anger? That was fake. Or was it? I don't know. Maybe I fooled myself. What's up with this? I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Can you not cover my head properly, Wig? Am I doing this to myself? Anger. Do I need to express anger? Why do I even think I need to express anger? Is that a sign that I need to express anger, or is it just some idea that got stuck in my head from when I was a kid? I don't know. I think my little brother, one of my little brothers from my dad's second wife, the third brother. He went and his mother afforded him a trip to a psychologist. Yeah, I didn't get one. That was I was a bit resentful because of that. Because I felt like if any of the kids needed a psychologist, it was me. And so she sent him to a psychologist, and he comes back after his first or second or third visit and says, "My psychologist says you have what was the word? It internal anger. What was it? Anger, something anger. Like my psychologist says you have anger issues or something like that." Uh, Maybe I did. Maybe I did. I don't know. I don't know. My mother sent me away when I was, like I said, 8 because I threw a wheel at my brother. I hit him in the back because he cheated. The third brother, I'm not sure how that came up in the conversation with the psychologist, except that uh, that brother used to break my. I had Legos and model airplanes and stuff like that, and he was fascinated by them. So what I would do is I would put them up on a dresser top, right? I had these model airplanes. I put the plane, you kind of angle it or whatever, and then the Legos too. I'd build those and make little spaceships from my own creation because a lot of times I'd build what the instructions said, but then he'd come along and break them, and then I'd have to go back and no longer having the instructions, just make my own thing, and then he'd break those too. So, but that's kind of what I was saying. I had this stuff on the dresser, and he would kind of just get up there and be like, I want to play with these things, right? And so I think one day I walked back there, and he had broken like one too many of my things, and or something like that. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but I went and got a hammer, and I went into his room. I'm laughing because of the way I set that up. That's not. It's probably not going to be what you expected. But he had a little space station thing. It was like a little, just a little like kids like. It was almost like a Lego set, but not Legos. It was something other because it wasn't something you built. It was like just a little space station thing, and I took my with the hammer that I'd gotten and I just beat it to pieces. And so that's the only thing that I can think of that that would make him come back to me from a psychologist's office and say something like, "You have anger issues." My psychologist says you have anger issues. I'm like, okay. How did your psychologist come to that conclusion? And what am I to do about it? What am I to do about it? Anger is one of those things where I kind of feel like that's another thing that I can't express, and it's not. That is through just conditioning. I shouldn't say conditioning because it was more just a few experiences. One I just mentioned was me throwing the wheel at my brother. That was kind of one of those things where I was like, yeah, maybe I should just not. If I'm angry at somebody, I should just keep it to myself. But then later there was an issue. I don't remember what the issue was, but I got angry and I was expressing it to my dad and his second wife, just shouting at them. And at one point they were just like laughing at me. And so I just started picking up stuff off the counter, and just started throwing it across the room, and they just kept laughing. And I just realized anger doesn't work. I'm trying to express something here, and it's not being taken seriously. And I think after that, that's when I was kind of like, I need to find another way around this. I need to find another way to get what I want. I'm gonna keep on talking. When am I gonna stop? How do I know when to stop? Jesus, tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop. Your hand is on the wheel. I'm giving you my wheel. Tell me when to stop. What's up with my wig? Why is it sticking out like that? I can't make a video like this. I can't make a video like that. Jesus, get me back on the track. Jesus. 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 My hair's still messed up. My hair's still messed up, Jesus. Look at my wig. Look at my wig. Are you going to do something about this or what? You going to do something about this wig? I swear. Jesus. What? I don't understand. You got the wheel, you don't got the wheel. What you don't care about my wig? You don't care about my wig? Is that what you're saying? You don't care about my wig? I gave you your hands the space on the wheel, and now my wig is all messed up, and I'm like, I think maybe you're not going in the right direction, Jesus. I think maybe you're not going in the right direction. How can you let me go forward with my wig like this? How can you let me go forward with my wig like this? You see how my wig is? That ain't cool. That's not. How am I gonna make friends with a wig like that? My friends ain't gonna like me because they say your wig is fucked up. You got a fucked up wig. You let Jesus do your wig for you. That's what your problem was. You shouldn't have let Jesus do your wig. You shouldn't have let Jesus do your wig. Because Jesus don't give a fuck about wigs. You think Jesus gives a fuck about wigs? Is Jesus telling me to take the wig off? He says, hey, I told you to be naked. I told you to be naked. I told you to be naked. You ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and it told you to put your clothes on, but I told you to be naked. My boobies. My boobies. My boobies. It would be strange if I ever have a baby someday. I don't mean if I get pregnant. I mean if I actually have a father, a child, or science allows me to somehow otherwise make a baby. And I actually have a baby and I'm like holding it up to my tit. That would be strange. I'm sitting here like, that's the baby's face. That's the baby's face. Sucking on my nipple. How would I feel if I had a baby sucking on my nipple? I think I might feel redeemed. I think all that anger I have towards my mother, I think I might redeem myself if I had a baby. And I was the mother. But I can't be a mother. I think I might feel redeemed though. I think I might feel like here's my chance to do myself right. But you know what? I really don't want to. I don't care about that. Because I don't want children. I feel like I don't. If I did have children, I would feel obligated. But there's also part of me that says no. I don't want children. I don't want to take care of children. I can't even take care of myself. Yeah, I've been here arguing with an imaginary figure for 30 minutes. Saying, Jesus, are you taking the wheel or not? You think somebody like that should have children? You think somebody like that should have kids? They don't even know who's behind the wheel. I don't know who's behind the wheel. I shouldn't have kids. I'm not sure who's driving this ship. And look at my wig. This is what happens when you let Jesus put his hands on the wheel. You get a wig that looks like this. Because Jesus ain't gonna do nothing about your wig. I gotta fix this shit myself. I gotta fix that myself. Because that is important. Jesus don't understand how important a wig is. Making it look nice. That's the whole point of putting it on. What kind of crazy shit? You crazy museum. You crazy museum. You crazy museum. You are a crazy museum. Who is going to curate your exhibit? Nobody's going to curate your exhibit except you. Except you. I think you are going to get some boyfriends after you. You are going to get some boyfriends after you. Yes. If you wear the wig. Why do I don't want to wear the wig. I don't want to have to wear the wig. But I don't want to have to face the world with my fucking male pattern baldness. Can I just sit here in the mirror and look at my sexy self? There's a mirror right over here behind the camera. So you might see me looking at it from time to time like I am right now. See, right now I'm looking at the mirror. Now I'm looking at the camera. Now I'm looking at the mirror. Now I'm looking at the camera. Yes. Now I just want to go to sleep. I just want to go lay down. But there's nothing over here to lay down on. I have to go back to my bus to lay down. Or I can lay down in the van in the front seat. That's not very good for laying down on because you can't really lay down. You just sit there. Your head goes like this. And it hurts. I think that's why my neck hurts because I've been sleeping too many times in seats and chairs, and seats and chairs are they not the same thing? I don't know. What's the difference between a seat and a chair? Not a whole lot, I reckon. Not a whole lot. Smoke. I was a hell. I did I just fall asleep sitting here? It feels so good to close my eyes. It feels so good to close my eyes. Now everything is getting quiet. Quiet. How so many. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. I think it's time for bed. How about that? Then we'll be